In this video, we are joining Odysseus, the hero of the epic poem titled The Odyssey, written originally in 750 BC in Greek by Homer. I am reading a translation by Robert Fitzgerald. Some may say that the value of the message in this poem depicts the passage through life and the importance of love and family. Yet for me, the value of this work is understanding the backdrop of this story as one of the first written records that help us, as a human race, to get a better picture of what the late Bronze Age looked like. The Bronze Age was a different time. Our history prior to that was held in the voice of mankind, not on paper. Throughout the main story, the Odyssey is laced in Greek myth, filled with tales about relationship between gods and humans. If you are into Greek mythology, within this one literary work, there are many side quest stories that help paint a picture of the grander world of the gods. I went down a rabbit hole trying to find out what came first, the chicken or the egg. Because of these gods, the polytheism that was seemed to be prevalent, especially throughout this particular writing. So I was looking for traces of Christianity in the Bronze Age, and come to find that there is a whole interesting history outside of this book, Homer, but somewhat related to it. Not coming from me, so I've left some links for you to review. It's in the description of this video. And it was about the first ever Bible written, which was around 300 BC. Considering that Homer was written in 750, and Homer's writing came first on paper or on tablets, I don't know what they were using. Its original name is the Septuagint, on the basis that during the rule of one of the Greek leaders, Ptolemy, he requested 7 Jewish scribes to put in writing their religious history. And it happened that these scribes lived in Greece at the time, and it would make sense that they would write it in classical ancient Greek, because they were doing it for the king, right, who spoke Greek. Anyway, later it was translated to Judaism and Christianity, the Old Testament as we know it today. But the first book, this compilation of these stories that we see, that what we call the Bible today, was written in Greek. That's the original language. That was the era of polytheism. The concept of a one God was in the works, not quite a concept that had a following. It appears to me that just from the surrounding text that was happening from poets and philosophers of the time, it was slowly becoming a movement, the monotheism, believing in the one God. Even though somewhere up in Egypt somewhere there was one of the pharaohs there, he started kind of telling his people that there is one source, which is, the sun. And that's documented as one of the first races or cultures that wanted to push that monotheism, which came before Christianity. But anyway, coming back to this place and this point in time, it seems that Christianity was becoming a movement, and it was finding its roots in the heart of Greece, in the heart of that era, in the heart of all that mysticism or mythicism that was happening, and what that culture was offering. And hence, to me, now it makes so much sense why the Bible contains Greek myth, and why the Bible has some commonalities with the Greek mythology. It was a conundrum for a while for me. And there's here's just a point in similarity with Greek mythology. Both the Bible and Greek mythology have the subject on giants. Some of the Bibles use the word giants in Genesis 6:4 as a translation for the word NEPHILIM. Some claim that NEPHILIM means fallen ones, but then I decided to approach this like a detective. And if we go to the crime scene, which some of you know that I used to be a deputy sheriff, so I do have that sleuthing background. But anyway, that crime scene is the original source where it all took place. And that when we go to an original source, then there's not going to be much room for argument, right? So the only thing that we're left with is kind of inquiry, like, well, why did they choose to change the meaning? Why didn't they put that word the way that it was? Why did they give us this translation? The good thing, my dear one, is we don't need to be a scholar and we don't need to be geniuses. All we need to do is spend a little time doing a little research. You need a little time. So those two things we need. And we are very fortunate that we're living in times where there are scholars that have taken the time and the diligence to provide that Septuagint so that we all can access it. So I've left those links for you here in the description of this video as well. So mind you, if you are like me and you don't speak or read Greek, which that can change at any time with a little dedication, right? We could start learning a new language, right? Well, I used an online translator and found that the original source, as it was written, used the word Gigantes. It actually looks really pretty, the word. But it's there. It's like the letters are so easy to understand. Once you have the alphabet code, then you could put the words together and actually read it. But it looks like the word Gigantes, right? And a linguist, someone who is trained in the words and the origin of words, could best explain what NEPHILIM means and where it came from. And what I'm finding out, they conclude that it also means giants. In some places it means the fallen ones, or means like to make fall. Well, let me tell you, a giant could make me fall probably. Now, going back to Homer, remember, I believe it was in book 10, when Odysseus landed on Laestrygones, and that was full of giants. Now think about this. Let's say you're a writer, you're a poet. Why would you talk about giants? How do you know about them? How did it come into your being that you know about giants? Were they really here for someone to write about them, to sing about them, to record it then later, not only in this epic poem, but then later it's included in the Old Testament, in the Bible, in mythology? Let's just think about that. The question is, like, where did the giants come from, whether in mythology or in the Bible? And Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 tells us that the giants were on the earth in the days before the flood and afterward, whenever the sons of God sired children with women. So that's a whole different story, what are they? Are they viewed as heavenly or divine beings in the Old Testament? These giants were called sometimes mighty men of old, men of renown. And does it mean that these people were advanced in knowledge? Could they be considered gods? Or is that what they were? Like their brain was giant, like somebody says, oh man, he's a giant of a man because of their ability, So it's interesting. We don't know how that word was meant. Were they giant in size, or were they giant in quality? And you thought we were just reading poetry. But that's what philosophers do, and maybe inside of me there's that little philosopher bone. I am Sagittarian, so it's kind of one of those traits. And it takes a lot of effort to decide to look at something with a different eye. And sometimes maybe we don't do it because we don't have the time, or maybe we don't want to see what is really there. I know one thing, that logic and reason helps us stay safe and grounded. And it's good. It's good. It's really good. Okay, so let me just share another thing here. Many of you have viewed my content and know that I do oracle readings, so you can imagine I am quite interested in these next couple chapters because there's some mysticism and the gods intervening in the affairs of man. Odysseus, as we're moving into these next chapters, has now revealed himself to his old nurse. His queen is having foretelling dreams, of things to come. The suitors are also having some things and signs that are kind of letting them know, hey, that's a sign. And it does not look really good, the future here. It looks really bad for you. Yet their greed and their lust, presses them to continue with their evil plan to kill Odysseus' son. The goddess Athena, the ever guardian to Odysseus, and I believe in angels, so I can see this beautiful thing that's happening with Odysseus and Athena, which I mentioned to you, which she is actually related to Odysseus as the great aunt, and it's quite a piece of work here. Not only can she make Queen Penelope look youthful, but she can get into people's minds and get them to say things that maybe they were not thinking of saying. I think the Odyssey is a greater tale, not just one of love and family. I think there's a lot more, and if we look with different eyes, we can actually see an incredible world that still is playing today. It's time we meet up with Odysseus and see what master plan he's going to hatch. Book 20, Signs and a Vision. Outside in the entryway he made his bed, raw oxhide spread on level ground, and heaped up fleeces left from sheep the Asians killed. And when he had lain down, Eurynome flung out a robe to cover him. Unsleeping the lord Odysseus lay, and roved in thought, to the undoing of his enemies. Now came a covey of women laughing as they slipped out, arm in arm, as many a night before, to the suitors' beds. And anger took him like a wave to leap into their midst and kill them, every one. Or should he let them all go hot to bed one final night? His heart cried out within him the way a brack with whelps between her legs would howl and bristle at a stranger, so the hackles of his heart rose at that laughter. Knowing his breast, he muttered to himself, "Down, be steady, you've seen worse. That time the Cyclops, like a rock slide, ate your men while you looked on. Nobody, only guile, got you out of that cave alive." His rage held hard in leash, submitted to his mind, while he himself rocked, rolling from side to side, as a cook turns a sausage, big with blood and fat, at a scorching blaze, without a pause, to broil it quick. So he rolled left and right, casting about to see how he, alone, against the false, outrageous crowd of suitors could press the fight. And out of the night sky Athena came to him. Out of the nearby dark, in body like a woman, came and stood over his head to chide him. "Why so wakeful, most forlorn of men? Here is your home, there lies your lady, and your son is here, as fine as one could wish a son to be." Odysseus looked up and answered, Goddess, that much is true. But still I have some cause to fret in this affair. I am one man. How can I whip those dogs? They are always here in force. Neither is that the end of it. There's more to come. If by the will of Zeus and by your will I killed them all, where could I go for safety? Tell me that. And the gray-eyed goddess said, "Your touching faith. Another man would trust some villainous mortal with no brains, and what am I? Your goddess guardian to the end in all your trials. Let it be plain as day. If 50 bands of men surrounded us and every sword sang for your blood, you could make off still with their cows and sheep. And now you, too, go to sleep. This all-night vigil wearies the flesh. You'll come out soon enough on the other side of trouble." Raining soft sleep on his eyes, the beautiful one was gone back to Olympus. Now at peace, the man slumbered and lay still, but not his lady. Wakeful again, with all her cares reclining in the soft bed, she wept and cried aloud until she had her fill of tears, then spoke in prayer first to Artemis. "O gracious divine Lady Artemis, daughter of Zeus, if you could only make an end now quickly, let the arrow fly, stop my heart. Or if some wind could take me by the hair up to the running cloud, to plunge in tides of ocean, as hurricane winds took Pandario's daughters when they were left at home alone. The gods had sapped their parents' lives, but Aphrodite fed those children honey, cheese, and wine, and Hera gave them looks and wit, and Artemis, pure Artemis, gave lovely height, and wise Athena made them practiced in her arts. till Aphrodite in glory walked on Olympus, begging for each a happy wedding day from Zeus, the lightning's joyous king, who knows all fate of mortals, fair and foul. But even at that hour the cyclone winds had ravaged them away to serve the loathsome Furies. Let me be blown out by the Olympians, shot by Artemis. I still might go and see amid the shades Odysseus in the rod of underworld. No coward's eye should light by my consenting. Evil may be endured when our days pass in mourning, heavy-hearted, hard beset, if only sleep reign over nighttime, blanketing the world's good and evil from our eyes. But not for me. Dreams too my demon sends me. Tonight the image of my Lord came by as I remember him with troops. Oh, strange exultation! I thought him real and not a dream. Now as the dawn appeared, all stitched in gold, the queen's cry reached Odysseus at his waking, so that he wondered, half asleep. It seemed she knew him, and stood near him. Then he woke and picked his bedding up to stow away up on a chair in the Megaron. The ox-hide pad he took outdoors. There, spreading wide his arms, he prayed. O Father Zeus, if over land and water after adversity you will to bring me home, let someone in the waking house give me good augury, and a sign be shown, too, in the outer world. He prayed thus, and the mind of Zeus in heaven heard him. He thundered out of bright Olympus down from above the cloudlands, in reply, a rousing peal for Odysseus. Then a token came to him from a woman grinding flour in the court nearby. His own handmills were there, and 12 maids had the job of grinding out whole grain and barley meal, the pith of men. Now all the rest, their bushels ground, were sleeping. Only one, frail and slow, kept at it still. She stopped, stayed her hand, and her lord heard the omen from her lips. Ah, Father Zeus Almighty over gods and men, a great bang of thunder that was surely out of the starry sky, and not a cloud in sight. It is your nod to someone. Hear me then. Make what I say come true. Let this day be the last the suitors feed so dainty in Odysseus' hall. They've made me work my heart out till I drop, grinding barley. May they feast no more. The servant's prayer, after the cloudless thunder of Zeus, Odysseus heard with lifting heart, sure in his bones that vengeance was at hand. Then other servants, wakening, came down to build and light a fresh fire at the hearth. Telemachus, clear-eyed as a god, awoke, put on his shirt and belted on his sword, bound rawhide sandals under his smooth feet, and took his bronze-shod lance. He came and stood on the ground, still at the doorway, calling Euryclea. Nurse, dear nurse, how did you treat our guest? Had he a supper and a good bed? Has he lain uncared for still? My mother is like that, perverse for all her cleverness. She'd entertain some riffraff and turn out a solid man. The old nurse answered him. I would not be so quick to accuse her, child. He sat and drank here while he had a mind to, food he no longer hungered for. He said, for she did ask him. When he thought of sleeping, she ordered them to make a bed. Poor soul, poor gentleman, so humble and so miserable. He would accept no bed with rugs to lie on, but slept on sheepskins and a raw hide in the entryway. We covered him ourselves. Telemachus left the hall, hefting his lance, with 2 swift-flickering hounds for company, to face the Illynaceans in the square, and gently born Euryclea, the daughter of Ops Persinados, called to the maids. Bestir yourselves. You have your brooms. Go sprinkle the rooms and sweep them. Robe the chairs in red. Sponge off the tables till they shine. Wash out the wine bowls and 2-handled cups. You others, go fetch water from the spring. No loitering. Come straight back. Our company will be here soon. Morning is sure to bring them. Everyone has a holiday today. The woman ran to obey her, 20 girls off to the spring with jars for dusky water, the rest at work inside. Then tall woodcutters entered to split up logs for the hearth fire. The water carriers returned, and on their heels arrived the swineherd, driving 3 fat pigs chosen among his pens. In the wide court he let them feed, and said to Odysseus kindly, "Friend, are they more respectful of you now, or still insulting you?" Replied Odysseus, "The young men, yes, and may the gods requite those insolent puppies for the game they play in a home not their own. They have no decency." During this talk, Melanthios the goatherd came in, driving goats for the suitors' feast with his 2 herdsmen. Under the portico they tied the animals, and Melanthios looked at Odysseus with a sneer. Said he, "Stranger, I see you mean to stay and turn our stomachs begging in this hall. Clear out, why don't you? Or will you have to taste a bloody beating before you see the point? Your begging ways nauseate everyone. There are feasts everywhere else." Odysseus answered not a word, but grimly shook his head over his murderous heart. A 3rd man came up now, Pylaios the cattle foreman, with an ox behind him and fat goats for the suitors. Ferrymen had brought these from the mainland, as they bring travelers to whoever comes along. Pylaios tied the beast under the portico and joined the swineherd. "Who is this?" he said. "Who is this new arrival at the manor? Asian? Or what else does he claim to be? Where are his family and fields of home? Down on his luck all right. Carries himself like a captain. How the immortal gods can change to drag us down once they begin to spin dark days for us. Kings and commanders, too." Then he stepped over and took Odysseus by the right hand, saying, "Welcome, sir. May good luck lie ahead at the next turn. Hard times you're having, surely. Oh, Zeus, no god is more berserk in heaven if gentle folk, whom you yourself begot, you plunge in grief and hardship without mercy. Sir, I began to sweat when I first saw you, and tears came to my eyes, remembering Odysseus. Rags like these he may be wearing somewhere on this wandering now. I mean, if he's alive still under the sun. But if he's dead, and in the house of death, I mourn Odysseus. He entrusted cows to me in Cephallenia when I was knee-high, and now his herds are numberless. No man else ever had cattle multiply like grain. But new men tell me I must bring my beeves to feed them, who care nothing for our prince, fear nothing from the watchful dogs. They crave partition of our lost king's land and wealth. My own feelings keep going round and round upon this tether. Can I desert the boy by moving, herds and all, to another country, a new life among the strangers? Yet it's worse to stay here in my old post herding cattle for upstarts. I'd have gone long since, taken service with another king. This shame is no more to be borne, but I keep thinking my own lord, poor devil, still might come and make a rout of suitors in this hall. Odysseus, with his mind on action, answered, Herdsman, I make you out to be no coward and no fool. I can see that for myself. So let me tell you this. I swear by Zeus all highest, by the table set for friends, and by your king's hearthstone to which I've come, Odysseus will return. You'll be on hand to see, if you care to see it, how those who lord it here will be cut down. The cowman said, Would God it all came true, you'd see the fight that's in me. Then Eumaeus echoed him and invoked the gods and prayed that his great-minded master should return. While these three talked, the suitors in the field had come together plotting, what but death for Telemachus. When from the left an eagle crossed high, with a rock-dove in his claws. Amphinomus got up, said he, cutting them short. Friends, no luck lies in that plan for us, no luck knifing the lad. Let's think of feasting. A grateful thought they felt, and walking on entered the great hall of the hero Odysseus, where they all dropped their cloaks on chairs or couches, and made a ritual slaughter, knifing sheep, fat goats and pigs, knifing the grass-fed steer. Then tripes were broiled and eaten, mixing bowls were filled with wine. The swineherd passed out cups, Pylaios, chief cowherd, dealt the loaves into the panniers, Melanthios poured wine, and all their hands went out upon the feast. Telemachus placed his father to advantage just at the door-sill of the pillared hall. setting a stool there and sawed-off table, gave him a share of tripes, poured out his wine in a golden cup, and said, "Stay here. Sit down to drink with our young friends. I stand between you and any cutting word or cuffing hand from any suitor. Here is no public house, but the old home of Odysseus, my inheritance. Hold your tongues then, gentlemen, and your blows, and let no wrangling start, no scuffle either." The others, disconcerted, bit their lips at the ring in the young man's voice. Antenos, Eupeithes' son, turned around to them and said, "It goes against the grain, my lords, but still I say we take this hectoring by Telemachus. You know Zeus balked at it, or else we might have shut his mouth a long time past, the silvery speaker." But Telemachus paid no heed to what Antinous said. Now public heralds wound through Ithaca, leading a file of beasts for sacrifice, and islanders gathered under the shade trees of Apollo, in the precinct of the archer, while in hall the suitors roasted mutton and fat beef on scores, pulling off the fragrant cuts, and those who did the roasting served Odysseus a portion equal to their own, for so Telemachus commanded. But Athena had no desire now to let the suitors restrain themselves from wounding words and acts. Laertes' son again must be offended. There was a scapegrace fellow in the crowd named Ctesippus, a Samian rich beyond all measure, arrogant with riches, early and late a bidder for Odysseus' queen. Now this one called attention to himself. "Hear me, my lords, I have a thing to say. Our friend has had his fair share from the start, and that's polite. It would be most improper if we were cold to guests of Telemachus, no matter what tramp turns up. Well then, look here, let me throw in my own small contribution. He must have prizes to confer, himself and some brave bathman or another slave here in Odysseus' house." His hand went backward, and fishing out a cow's foot from the basket, he let it fly. Odysseus rolled his head to one side softly, ducking the blow, and smiled a crooked smile with teeth clenched. On the wall the cow's foot struck and fell. Telemachus blazed up. "Ctesippus, lucky for you, by heaven, not to have hit him. He took care of himself, else you'd have had my lance head in your belly. No marriage, but a grave instead on Ithaca for your father's pains. You others, let me see no more contemptible conduct in my house. I've been awake to it for a long time. By now I know what is honorable and what is not. Before, I was a child. I can endure it while sheep are slaughtered, wine drunk up, and bread. Can one man check the greed of 100 men? But I will suffer no more viciousness. Granted, you mean at last to cut me down. I welcome that. Better to die than have humiliation always before my eyes. The stranger buffeted, and the serving woman dragged about, abused in a noble house." They quieted and grew still under his lashing, and after a long silence, Agelaus, the master's son, spoke to them all. Friends, I hope no one will answer like a fishwife. What has been said is true. Hands off this stranger. He is no target, neither is any servant here in the hall of King Odysseus. Let me say a word, though, to Telemachus and to his mother, if it please them both. As long as hope remained in you to see Odysseus, that great gifted man, again, you could not be reproached for obstinacy. Trying the suitors down here, better so, if still your father fared the great sea homeward. How plain it is, though, now, he'll come no more. Go sit then by your mother, reason with her, tell her to take the best man, highest bidder, and you can have and hold your patrimony, feed on it, drink it all, while she adorns another's house. Keeping his head, Telemachus replied, By Zeus Almighty, Agelaus, and my father's sufferings, far from Ithaca, whether he's dead or lost, I make no impediment to mother's marriage. Take whom you wish, I say. I'll add my dowry. But can I pack her off against her will from her own home? Heaven forbid. At this, Pallas Athena touched off in the suitors a fit of laughter, uncontrollable. She drove them into nightmare, till they wheezed and neighed as though with jaws no longer theirs, while blood defiled their meat and blurring tears flooded their eyes, heartsore with woe to come. Then said the visionary, Theoclymenos. O lost sad man, what terror is this you suffer? Night shrouds you to the knees, your heads, your faces. Dry wretch of death runs round like fire in sticks. Your cheeks are streaming. These fair walls and pedestals are dripping crimson blood. And thick with shades is the entryway, the courtyard thick with shades passing athirst toward Erebos. Into the dark. The sun is quenched in heaven. Foul mist hems us in. The young men greeted this with shouts of laughter, and Eurymachus, the son of Polybus, crowed, "The mind of our new guest has gone astray. Hustle him out of doors, lads, into the sunlight. He finds it dark as night inside." The man of vision looked at him and said, "When I need help, I'll ask for it, Eurymachus. I have my eyes and ears, a pair of legs, and a straight mind still with me. These will do to take me out. Damnation and black night I see arriving for yourselves. No shelter, no defense for any in this crowd. Fools and vipers in the king's own hall." With this he left that handsome room and went home to Peidios, who received him kindly. The suitors made wide eyes at one another and set to work provoking Telemachus with jokes about his friends. One said, for instance, "Telemachus, no man is a luckier host when it comes to what the cat dragged in. What burning eyes you beggar had for bread and wine! But not for labor, not for a single heave. He'd be a dead weight on a field. Then comes this other with this mumbo-jumbo. Boy, for your own good, I tell you, toss them both into a slave ship for the sickles. That would pay you." Telemachus ignored the suitor's talk. He kept his eyes in silence on his father, awaiting the first blow. Meanwhile, the daughter of Icarios, Penelope, had placed her chair to look across and down on father and son at bay. She heard the crowd, and how they laughed as they resumed their dinner, a fragrant feast, for many beasts were slain. But as for supper, men supped never colder than these, on what the goddess and the warrior were even then preparing for the suitors, whose treachery had filled that house with pain. End of Book 20. Oh, it seems like we're on the edge here. It would be a shame to stop right here. I think we've got a little bit in us, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab Book 21. Stay here with me. It's titled The Test of the Bow. Upon Penelope, most worn in love and thought, Athena cast a glance like a gray sea lifting her. Now to bring the tough bow out and bring the iron blades. Now try those dogs at archery to usher bloody slaughter in. So moving stairward, the queen took up a fine door hook of bronze, ivory hafted, smooth in her clenched hand, and laid her maids down to a distant room, a storeroom where the master's treasure lay. Bronze, bar gold, black iron forged and wrought. In this place hung the double torsion bow and arrows in a quiver, a great sheaf, quills of groaning. In the old time in Lacedaemon, her lord had got these arms from Epithos, Eurytos' son. The two met in Messenia at Ordilochus' table, on the day Odysseus claimed a debt owed by that realm. Sheep stolen from Messenians out of Ithaca in their long ships, 300 head, and herdsmen. Seniors of Ithaca had his father sent him on that far embassy when he was young. But Ephitos had come there tracking strays, 12 shy mares, with mule colts yet unweaned. And a fatal chase they led him over prairies into the hands of Heracles. That massive son of toil and mortal son of Zeus murdered his guest at wine in his own house. Inhuman, shameless in the sight of heaven, to keep the mares and colts in his own grange. Now Ephitos, when he knew Odysseus gave him the master bowman's arm, for old Eurytos had left it on his deathbed to his son. In fellowship Odysseus gave a lance and a sharp sword, but Heracles killed Ephitos before one friend could play host to the other. and Lord Odysseus would not take the bow in the black ships to the great war of Troy. As a keepsake, he put it by. It served him well at home in Ithaca. Now the queen reached the storeroom door and halted. Here was an oaken sill, cut long ago and sanded clean and bedded true. 4 square the door jambs and the shining doors were set by the careful builder. Penelope untied the strap around the curving handle, pushed her hook into the slit, aimed at the bolts inside, and shut them back. Then came a rasping sound as those bright doors the key had sprung gave way. A bellow like a bull's vaunt in a meadow, followed by her light footfall entering over the plank floor. Herb-scented robes lay there in chests, but the lady's milk-white arms went up to lift the bow down from a peg in its own polished bow case. Now Penelope sank down, holding the weapon on her knees, and drew her husband's grey bow out, and sobbed and bit her lip and let the salt tears flow. Then back she went to face the crowded hall, tremendous bow in hand, and on her shoulder hung the quiver spiked with coughing death. Behind her maids bore a basket full of axe heads, bronze, and iron implements for the master's game. Thus in her beauty she approached the suitors, and near a pillar of the solid roof she paused, her shining veil across her cheeks, her maids on either hand, and still, then spoke to the banqueters. My lords, hear me. Suitors indeed, you commandeered this house to feast and drink in day and night, my husband being long gone, long out of mind. You found no justification for yourselves, none except your lust to marry me. Stand up then. We now declare a contest for that prize. Here is my lord Odysseus' hunting bow. Bend and string it if you can. Who sends an arrow through iron axe helve sockets 12 in line? I join my life with his, and leave this place, my home, my rich and beautiful bridal house, forever to be remembered, though I dream it only. Then to Emauius, carry the bow forward, carry the blades. Tears came to the swineherd's eyes as he reached out for the big bow. He laid it down at the suitor's feet. Across the room the cowherd sobbed, knowing the master's weapon. Antinous growled with a glance at both. Clods, they go to pieces over nothing. You too, there. Why are you sniveling? To upset the woman even more? Has she not enough pain over her lost husband? Sit down. Get on with dinner quietly, or cry about it outside if you must. Leave us the bow. A clean-cut game it looks to me. Nobody bends that bow staff easily in this company. Is there a man here made like Odysseus? I remember him from childhood. I can see him even now. That was the way he played it, hoping inwardly to span the great horn bow with corded gut and drill the iron with his shot. He, Antinous, destined to be the first of all to savor blood from a biting arrow at his throat, a shaft drawn by the fingers of Odysseus, whom he had mocked and plundered, leading on the rest, his boon companions. Now they heard a gay snort of laughter from Telemachus, who said then brilliantly, A queer thing that. Has Zeus Almighty made a half-wit? For all her spirit, Mother has given in, promised to go off with someone, and is that amusing? What am I cackling for? Step up, my lords, contend now for your prize. There is no woman like her in Asia, not in old Argos, Pylos, or Mycene, neither in Ithaca nor on the mainland. And you all know it without praise of mine. Come on, no hanging back, no more delay in getting the bow bent. Who's the winner? I myself should like to try that bow. Suppose I bend it and bring off the shot. My heart will be less heavy, seeing the queen, my mother, go for the last time from this house and hall, if I who stay can do my father's feat. He moved out quickly, dropping his crimson cloak, and lifted sword and sword belt from his shoulders. His preparation was to dig a trench, heaping the earth in a long ridge beside it to hold the blades half bended. A taut cord aligned the socket rings, and no one there but looked on wondering at his workmanship, for the boy had never seen it done. He took his stand then on the broad door-sill to attempt the bow. 3 times he put his back into it and sprang it. 3 times he had to slack off. Still he meant to string that bow and pull for the needle shot. A 4th try, and he had it all but strung, when a stiffening in Odysseus made him check. Abruptly, then he stopped and turned and said, "Blast and damn it, must I be a milksop all my life? Half grown, all thumbs, no strength or knack at arms to defend myself if someone picks a fight with me. Take over, O my elders and betters, try the bow, run off the contest." And he stood the weapon upright against the massy timbered door, with one arrow across the horn aslant, then went back to his chair. Antinous gave the word. "Now 1 man at a time rise and go forward, round the room in order, left to right from where they dip the wine." As this seemed fair enough, up stood Leodes, the son of Oenops. This man used to find visions for them in the smoke of sacrifice. He kept his chair well back, retired by the wine bowl, for he alone could not abide their manners, but sat in shame for all the rest. Now it was he who had first to confront the bow, standing up on the broad door-sill. He failed. The bow unbending made his thin hands yield, no muscle in them. He gave up and said, "Friends, I cannot. Let the next man handle it. Here is a bow to break the heart and spirit of many strong men. And death is less bitter than to live on and never have the beauty that we came here laying siege to so many days. Resolute, are you still to win Odysseus' lady Penelope? Pit yourselves against the bow, and look among Asians for another's daughter. Gifts will be enough to court and take her. Let the best offer win." With this, Leodes thrust the bow away from him and left it upright against the massy timbered door, with one arrow aslant across the horn. As he went down to his chair, he heard Antinous' voice rising. "What is it that you say? It makes me burn. You cannot string the weapon, so here's a bow to break the heart and spirit of many strong men? Crushing thought! You were not born. You never had it in you to pull that bow or let an arrow fly. But here are men who can and will." He called out to the goatherd, Melanthius, "Kindle a fire there. Be quick about it. Draw up a big bench with a sheepskin on it, and bring a cake of lard out of the stores. Contenders from now on will eat and grease the bow. We'll try it limber and bring off the shot." Melanthius darted out to light a blaze, drew up a bench, threw a big sheepskin over it, and brought a cake of lard. So one by one the young men warmed and greased the bow for bending. But not a man could string it. They were whipped. Antinous held off, so did Eurymachus, suitors-in-chief, by far the ablest there. 2 men had meanwhile left the hall, swineherd and cowherd, in companionship, one downcast as the other. But Odysseus followed them outdoors, outside the court, and coming up said gently, "You, herdsman, and you, too, swineherd, I could say a thing to you, or should I keep it dark?" "No, no, speak, my heart tells me. Would you be men enough to stand by Odysseus if he came back? Suppose he dropped out of a clear sky, as I did. Suppose some god should bring him. Would you bear arms for him, or for the suitors?" The cowherd said, "Ah, let the master come. Father Zeus, grant our old wish. Some courier guide him back, then judge what stuff is in me and how I manage arms." Likewise Amaios fell to praying all heavens for his return, so that Odysseus, sure at least of these, told them, "I am at home, for I am he. I bore adversities, but in the 20th year I am ashore in my own land. I find the 2 of you, alone among my people, longed for my coming. Prayers I never heard except your own that I might come again. So now, what is in store for you, I'll tell you. If Zeus brings down the suitors by my hand, I promise marriages to both, and cattle and houses built near mine. And you shall be brothers in arms of my Telemachus. Here, let me show you something else, a sign that I am he, that you can trust me. Look, this old scar from the tusk one that I got boar hunting on Parnassus. Autolycus' sons and I. Shifting his rags, he bared the long gash. Both men looked and knew, and threw their arms around the old soldier, weeping, kissing his head and shoulders. He as well took each man's head and hands to kiss, then said, to cut it short, else they might weep till dark. Break off, no more of this. Anyone at the door could see, and then tell them. Drift back in, but separately at intervals after me. Now listen to your orders. When the time comes, those gentlemen, to a man, will be dead against giving me bow or quiver. Defy them. Emaios, bring the bow and put it in my hands there at the door. Tell the women to lock their own door tight. Tell them if someone hears the shock of arms or groans of men in hall or court, not one must show her face, but keep still at her weaving. Philoidios, run to the outer gate and lock it. Throw the crossbar and lash it. He turned back into the courtyard and the beautiful house and took the stool he had before. They followed one by one, the two hands loyal to him. Eurymachus had now picked up the bow. He turned it round and turned it round before the licking flame to warm it, but could not, even so, put stress upon it to jam the loop over the tip, though his heart groaned to bursting. Then he sighed grimly. Curse this day! What gloom I feel, not for myself alone, and not only because we lose that bride. Women are not lacking in Asia, in other towns, or on Ithaca. No, the worst is humiliation, to be shown up for children measured against Odysseus, we who cannot even hitch the string over this bow. What shame to be repeated of us, after us! Antinous said, Come to yourself. You know that is not the way this business ends. Today the islanders held holiday, a holy day, no day to sweat over a bowstring. Keep your head. Postpone the bow. I say we leave the axes planted where they are. No one will take them. No one comes to Odysseus' hall tonight. Break out good wine and brim our cups again. We'll keep the crooked bow safe overnight. Order the fattest goats Melanthius has brought down tomorrow noon, and offer thigh bones burning to Apollo, god of archers, while we try out the bow and make the shot. As this appealed to everyone, heralds came pouring fresh water for their hands, and boys filled up the wine bowls. Joints of meat went round, fresh cuts for all, while each man made his offering, tilting the red wine to the gods, and drank his fill. Then spoke Odysseus, all craft and gall. My lords, contenders for the queen, permit me. A passion in me moves me to speak out. I put it to Eurymachus above all, and to that brilliant prince Antinous. Just now how wise his counsel was, to leave the trial and turn your thoughts to the immortal gods. Apollo will give power tomorrow to whom he wills. But let me try my hand at the smooth bow. Let me test my fingers and my pull to see if any of the old-time kick is there, or if thin, fair, and roving took it out of me. Now irritation beyond reason swept them all, since they were nagged by fear that he could string it. Antinous answered coldly and at length, You bleary vagabond, no rag of sense is left you. Are you not coddled here enough, at table taking meat with gentlemen, your betters, denied nothing and listening to our talk? When have we let a tramp hear all our talk? The sweet goad of wine has made you rave. Here's the evil wine can do to those who swig it down. Even the centaur Eurytion in Pirithous' hall among the Lapithae come to a bloody end because of wine. Wine ruined him. It crazed him, drove him wild for rape in that great house. The princes cornered him in fury, leaping on him to drag him out and crop his ears and nose. Drink had destroyed his mind, and so he ended in that mutilation, fool that he was. Centaurs and man made war for this, but the drunkard first brought hurt upon himself. The tale applies to you. I promise you great trouble if you touch that bow. You'll come by no indulgence in our house. Kicked down into a ship's bilge, out to sea you go, and nothing saves you. Drink, but hold your tongue. Make no contention here with younger men. At this the watchful Queen Penelope interposed. Antinous? Discourtesy to a guest of Telemachus? Whatever guest, that is not handsome. What are you afraid of? Suppose this exile put his back into it and drew that great bow of Odysseus. Could he then take me home to be his bride? You know he does not imagine that. No one need let that prospect weigh upon his dinner. How very, very improbable it seems. It was Eurymachus who answered her. Penelope, O daughter of Icarius, most subtle queen, we are not given to fantasy. No, but our ears burn at what men might say, and women too. We hear some jackal whispering, how far inferior to the great husband her suitors are. Can't even budge his bow. Think of it, and a beggar out of nowhere strung it quick and made the needle shot? That kind of disrepute we could not care for. Penelope replied, steadfast and wary. Eurymachus, you have no good repute in this realm, nor the faintest hope of it. Men who abused a prince's house for years, consumed his wine and cattle. Shame enough. Why hang your heads over a trifle now? The stranger is a big man, well compacted, and claims to be of noble blood. Aye, give him the bow, and let us have it out. What I can promise him, I will. If by the kindness of Apollo he prevails, he shall be clothed well and equipped. A fine shirt and a cloak, I promise him, a lance for keeping dogs at bay, or men, a broad sword, sandals to protect his feet, escort, and freedom to go where he will. Telemachus now faced her and said sharply, Mother, as to the bow and who may handle it or not handle it, no man here has more authority than I do. Not one lord of our own stony Ithaca nor the island lying east toward Elis. No one stops me if I choose to give these weapons outright to my guest. Return to your own hall, tend your spindle, tend your loom, direct your maids at work. This question of the bow will be for men to settle. Most of all, for me. I am master here. She gazed in wonder, turned, and so withdrew, her son's clear-headed bravery in her heart. But when she had mounted to her rooms again with all her women, then she fell to weeping for Odysseus, her husband. Gray-eyed Athena presently cast a sweet sleep on her eyes. The swineherd had the horn bow in his hands, moving toward Odysseus, when the crowd in the banquet hall broke into an ugly din, shouts rising from the flushed young men. Ho! Where do you think you're taking that, you smutty slave? What is this dithering? We'll toss you back alone among the pigs for your own dogs to eat, if bright Apollo nods and the gods are kind. He faltered, all at once put down the bow, and stood in panic, buffeted by waves of cries, hearing Telemachus from another quarter shout, Go on, take him the bow. Do you obey this pack? You will be stoned back to your hills. Young as I am, my power's over you. I wish to God I had as much the upper hand of these. There would be suitors pitched like dead rats through our gate, for the evil plotted here. Telemachus' frenzy struck someone as funny. As soon the whole room roared with laughter at him, so that all tension passed. Amyas picked up the bow and quiver, making for the door, and there he placed them in Odysseus' hands. Calling Euryclea to his side, he said, Telemachus trusts you to take care of the woman's doorway. Lock it tight. If anyone inside should hear the shock of arms or groans of men in hall or court, not one must show her face, but go on with her weaving. The old woman nodded and kept still. She disappeared into the women's hall, bolting the door behind her. Velodios left the house now at one bound, cat-like, running to bolt the courtyard gate. A coil of deck rope of papyrus fiber lay in the gateway. This he used for lashing, and ran back to the same stool as before, fastening his eyes upon Odysseus. And Odysseus took his time, turning the bow, tapping it, every inch, for borings that termites might have made while the master of the weapon was abroad. The suitors were now watching him, and some jested among themselves. A bow lover! Dealer in old bows. Maybe he has one like it at home, or has an itch to make one for himself. See how he handles it, the sly old buzzard. And one disdainful suitor added this, May his fortune grow an inch for every inch he bends it. But the man skilled in all ways of contending, satisfied by the great bow's look and heft, like a musician, like a harper, when with a quiet hand upon his instrument he draws between his thumb and forefinger a sweet new string upon a peg. So effortlessly Odysseus in one motion strung the bow, then slid his right hand down the cord and plucked it, so taut gut vibrating hummed and sang a swallow's note. In the hushed hall it smote the suitors, and all their faces changed. Then Zeus thundered overhead, one loud crack for a sign, and Odysseus laughed within him that the son of crooked-minded Cronos had flung that omen down. He picked one ready arrow from his table where it lay bare. The rest were waiting still in the quiver for the young man's turn to come. He knocked it, let it rest across the hand grip, and drew the string and grooved butt of the arrow, aiming from where he sat upon the stool. Now flashed arrow from twanging bow clean as a whistle through every socket ring, and grazed not one, to thud with heavy brazen head beyond. Then quietly Odysseus said, Telemachus, the stranger you welcomed in your hall has not disgraced you. I did not miss, neither did I take all day stringing the bow. My hand and eye are sound, not so contemptible as the young men say. The hour has come to cook their lordships' mutton, supper by daylight. Other amusements later, with song and harping that adorn a feast. He dropped his eyes and nodded, and the Prince Telemachus, true son of Odysseus, belted his sword on, clapped hand to his spear, and with a clink and a glitter of keen bronze stood by his chair in the forefront near his father. End of Book 21. Before you head over to the next video, please do take a second or two and hit that like button. And I'll meet you at the next video for Book 22. Oh yeah, Death in the Great Hall.